Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name was Bhuvaneshwar. Belongs to Computer Science Engineering. Currently pursuing undergrad from Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. You can see my roll number on my screen: 21951a0527. This was my roll number. This whole PPT is recording the concept video regarding the subject of PPSC C language. This in whole PPT I am going to discuss about the topic of strings. Like, uh, let us see in the video. Let us move on to the further slide. Yeah, these are the whole topics covered in whole PPT. I will first introduce. Introduce the topic, and later I will discuss some properties related to strings in the C. Next, I will discuss some methods of phenomena of transferring a string. Later, how to take an string as an input. Like, we know how to take an character as an input in the C, but how to take there will be various method input and out, like formatted and unformatted of input or output of the strings. We will discuss both the input, formatted and unformatted of the strings. Next, how we will point the pointers to the strings. Later, gets and puts functions, and later some built-in C string functions in the which were included in the standard library or the string.h functions. These all are the whole topics which we are going to cover in this whole PPT, from starting from the introduction to the all built-in functions. Which, these built-in functions are not the user-defined functions which are included in the library of string library or standard library. If you want to import the module of string, you can import the string.h module, or if you won't, like if you want, if there are number of modules or packages available in your code, then you can implement the standard library function of standard library function, which further classify or which includes number of files. So just include a standard library function to import all the functions. These are the whole topics we are going to cover in this whole PPT. See, let me discuss the brief introduction. Basically, starting the what is a string. As of from my point of view, string is like it varies from the language. If you consider Python, strings may consider as one point of time. Like, the string was considered as in one data type. In C, it was considered another data type. In C, basically, it is nothing but a character array, which was stored in a continuous memory location. We won't consider a single character as a string. But whereas in Python or Java, we will consider single character even as a string, but we won't in the C. That is a major difference. Like, we will define definition of string with varies with the language. So we are discussing this from the subject of C language. So I am going to discuss the point of the C language. What are the strings? Strings can be defined. Wait, 1 minute. Excuse me. Yeah, yeah. Strings can be defined as one-dimensional array. Like, strings can't be multi-dimensional array, right? Like, if you want to even write the sentences, you will just store it in the whole single array. Like, you won't even store it in the multiple dimension of array, like storing the matrix in the matrix form. So basically, strings is a one-dimensional array. Characters terminated with null character. Like, we won't stop the declaration without giving the null character in the strings. If even you won't specify the null character in the string termination, the compiler automatically takes the null character as a termination. If you won't specify the null character, uh, just it will take null character. If there was no null character present, even if the compiler doesn't take, the strings goes on, and it will stop the compilation. Next point, the character array of the string is used to manipulate text such as word or sentences. Each character in array occupies 1 byte of memory, and the last character must always be 0. As we discussed, character array takes the characters, right? Each character take 1 byte. So when we define a string, it will take continuous block of memory, and 1 byte, one block will take 1 byte of memory, and the termination character should be the 0. The termination character null /0 is important in string, since it is the only way to identify whether the string ends. Like, unless like the arrays, if we want to define, like, even the empty spaces or the strings, right? To define the compiler that we ended the string there, then how can we simply simplify that? If we keep on giving this, if you even just press the enter button in your keyboard, then it will go to new line. Even new line was a string. Like, spaces are even considered an element. Every element which was present in the keyboard has an ASCII values. Every ASCII value has a particular meaning. So even a space is in sentence or considered string. So if you want to stop a string at a particular point, you should say it explicitly to the compiler that here the null character, here I gave the termination. So compiler understands that was the termination, and it stops at there. When we define a string as a character of s10, the character s implies in the memory. Like if you define the character s of 10, it's it allocates, like it in the hash memory or stack memory, it just allocates 10 bytes of memory for the string. Yeah, even there are two ways to declare a string in the C language: by character array or by string literal. But these are the two ways to declare a string in the C language: by using C character array or by storing string literal. Yeah. Let us see the example of declaring string by character array in C language. Like you can, as you can see on my screen, by you can declare a string by using character array as char of character 10 is equal to, wait for 1 minute, excuse me, wait for 1 minute. Yeah, sorry for the delay, sorry for the disturbance. Yeah, once again, sorry for the disturbance. Let us see. No, yeah, as we left here, let us see the example of declaration of string by character array in C language. Char of character is equal to, let us declare it in the like flowered brackets. Capital I, we will have to declare each and every element with single quote I comma a comma r comma e c o l l e g e by terminating with the null character. As we gave 10 letters, it will take 10 characters, and we terminated the last character with the null character. As we know, array index starts from 0. While declaring string, size is not mandatory. Like by declaring, initializing and declaring the string at a time. So giving the number of bytes, it won't matter. If you can, if you want, you can. If you want, as you can see on my example, if you want to declare the size of the array, you don't want to. Character of carriage equal to IARE college. Like compiler directly takes the arguments. Difference between the character array and string. Now we discuss the character array, right? Now let us see the difference between character and the string literal. The difference between character and string literal. There are two main differences between the character and the literal. Yeah, literal means directly defining a string, like taking the raw input. This is college without declaring any flower brackets or taking each and just mention the data type of the array and just give the sentence. Then it may it was concluded that it was a string literal. So let us see the basic example. Let me discuss the points which has mentioned in the beginning. We need to add the null character 0 at the end of the array by ourselves, whereas it is appended internally by the compiler in the case of character array. This is the major difference. Like we need to add the null character at the end of array by ourselves, whereas it is appended internally by the compiler in the case of character array. This is a major one of the major difference. Next, the string literal can't be yeah yeah the string literal can't be reassigned to another set of characters, whereas we can reassign the characters of an array. Like in string literal can't be reassigned to the character another set of the character. Like we can't directly extremely specify that string of 2 is equal to string of 1. Like we can't specify string of, you can use the built-in function to copy, but we can't directly assign the string itself to one another string, whereas we can in the character array. Yeah, those are the differences between string literal and character array, which was discussed earlier. Now let us coming to the transferring the array. Basically, the transfer is what is the meaning of transversing? Transversing means going through each and every element of an array or string or particular data type. Like not the permutative data type, cumulative derived data types. In particular, in derived data types, passing through each and every element in the given derived data types is known as transferring. If you take a number of students in the classroom, if you are going to give one sheet to the each and student, or whether you want to check whether bring they brought the yesterday class notes or not, you will go to everyone and check whether they brought the notes or not. Like in the similar way, the compiler of the particular given language goes on checking in the transfers method, like it's checking, bounce checking each and every element is known as transversing. I explained with even the real life example, I think so. Yeah. Let me read the definition which was present on the score of the scene. Transversing string is one of the most important aspects in any language or programming language. We may need to manipulate a very large text, which can be done by transversing the text. Transversing the string is somewhat different from the transversing the integer array. We need to know the length of the array to transverse an integer array, whereas we may use the null character in the case of string to identify the end of the array. Unless we should know the length of the array if we want to transfer the array, but in string itself, you may even use the null terminator. If you once you occur the null terminator in the character array, you can stop there and you can stop transversing. Like there won't be any null iterator in the array, right? So in string literal there will be null terminators, so you can use null terminate whenever, by using a while loop, whenever the null terminate occurs, then we can stop the transversing there. Yeah, there are two ways of transferring a string. Wait, you can see on my screen, there are two ways of transferring a string: by using length of the string, by using null character. This is the example of using the length of string. Like first we will get the length of the string as we if you take the Java point, the length of the string was 11. We know the 11. While I is taking in while loop, while I is equal to 11, if s of I is equal, counting number of vowels in the particular string. To count the number of vowels in the particular string, we should verify each and every character of a string, right? So here we should use a transversing of a string. So while iterating each and every element of a given string, we should transverse. Here we are transversing by using the length, where we know the length as 11. If I is less than or 11, if s of I is equal to a, s of I is equal to a, s of I is equal to I, or s of I is equal to u, s of I is equal to o, then we will increment the count. Else we will increment the I. Then we still we will reach the 11. If we are it's just we are bounce checking each and every character of the string by using the string length. Then we will if the element was an vowel, we will increment the count and we will just print the count. This is an classic example of transferring string using the length. Yeah. Now this is an example of using the null character. Like we know the last character terminates at the null character, right? We will just mention the condition that while s of I is not equal to null. If not equal, if it was equal to null, the while loop stops. Like we are transferring until the nature element, until the null character occurs. Even there we are checking by using this if condition, and we are checking each and element as whether it was an vowel or not. If it was an vowel, we are just incrementing count. Else we are just incrementing I. We will initialize I as in 0 before. Once the s of I is equal to null, if the while loop stops, and it will print the count. It will give rise to number of vowels present over it. Now, let us discuss how to accept string as an input. Now, before we know how to accept the integer or permutative data types as input, right? By using the percentile, just formatting percentiles, we can discuss. We came to know how to take input of particular character of data type of int or char, but where string as an derived data type, which was formed by using the number of characters, we can't just simply use percentage c as in accepting the string input. You use there will be various methods like formatted or unformatted inputs and outputs of string. Let us discuss one by one. As you can see, we have used scanf to accept the input from the user. However, it can also be used in the case of it, yeah, it can also be used in the case of strings, but with a different scenarios. Consider the below code which stores the string while space is encountered. Yeah, let us declare the character array s of 20. Now let us ask the user to enter the string, and we will store. Now before you use the character array, we store a character by using a percentage %c, whereas in strings we will use percentage %s, where the methods won't be recommendable, but still it's a basic point where we should start. We will discuss further number of functions which you can use to take the string as input, but scanf of percentage %s is not recommendable to use take the input as a string. Yeah, and you can use even this method to take the input as a string from the C. This is basic syntax. Let us move further. Now, yeah, the main the main case which we encountered before case situation was, if we want to store a sentence in a particular array, the percentage s won't. If suppose this is a C language, if you store it by using percentage s, it will just store this. As the space encountered, it stops taking the next lines of input. So this is the major drawback of using percentage s in the to taking while taking the input. If you just a single word, you can use percentage s, but it is not. It won't take multiple words separated by spaces. So now in this case, we can use the syntax of brackets, square brackets, like upper arrow slash n percentage s. This we can use this syntax in place of percentage s to take the string which was separated by spaces. You can see it is clear from the output that the above code will not work for space separate, like before code won't work for success. To make the code work for the space separated integer, the minor change required in the scanf statement. Instead of writing scanf percentage s, we must consider the following example to store the space separated integers. Like as you discussed syntax, this is the basic syntax to take the input as space separated integers. Yeah, got it. Now let us point the pointers in the string. We know the points basically refer to the address of the memory location of the particular data type or a variable name which was stored in the stack or heap memory in the CPU. Pointers basically which stores the in the I don't think so points were in C++, but even in the Java points were not there, but in C we have the pointers. Pointers basically refers to the address of a particular memory location of a particular variable. Yeah, let us define the pointers of the string. We have used pointers with array. Yeah, before we used pointers with the array functions and even with the permutative data types, like basic integer. If you can define int star p with for permutative data. However, pointers can be used to point the strings. There are various advantages of using pointers to point even the strings. Yeah, like even the character is defined as a character array, right? While there are number of advantages for using pointers to the character array, there will be equal number of advantages for even the strings, right? Yes, character array is defined as a string. If the advantages for the array, they will be even advantages for the string. So there will be many advantages for pointing pointers to the string. Following example to access the string via pointer. Define hashtag includes standard library studio.h stdio.h. Next, void main, write the code s of 1 is equal to IRE call it. Now let us define a pointer star p for the s, like s character array. Now print the p as we defined earlier. Now just print the p, print of percentage. Now you can see output as you can see on my screen, you can see output as IRE call it. Like here we are accessing a character string, character of string using the pointers. It will just store the base address of a given character array of the string while you are pointing the pointer to the particular variable. When we are printing, it will take the base memory location to the null, where the null point terminates or null character occurs in the string. Then we can get the output on our console screen. This is the basic way to represent strings using the pointers. Now, yeah, before we encountered many number of problems while using the scanf statement. Like it won't be that easy to use the multiple scanf. If you write two scanf statements consecutively, it won't take the second scanf statement, right? Like it will print a new character line in the console output. You may, like, our code may get manipulated by the scanf statements. To prevent those drawbacks, there were multiple unformatted, like we can't format the string here. The form, like the output and input formatted was formatted basically in the standard libraries and modules. We will just use the codes by importing the module. You can import the string.h, or if you don't want to import number of modules of math string, just import standard library, which includes this all kind of functions. Now let us see the gets. The gets function enables the user to enter some character followed by enter key. If you enter number of keys, unless and until it encounters new line character or enter key, it won't terminate. Like gets some, yeah, gets sometimes gets gives the warning, don't error, don't be conscious while using the gates. Instead, gets, if you don't even want the warning on the console screen, just use the method fgets, which won't even gives the warning. But fgets will take three arguments. Fgets will take three arguments. One, the string we should store. Later, the number of characters in the string. At last is a standard std in. It is an like permanent argument. Instead of gets, you can use even fgets. Even you can use the gets if you want. Like just let us see the syntax of the gets. Just an character of gets of character. This is the base, just a syntax. Use the one single argument of character name inside the gets. It will be the syntax. Just simple, as simple as shown. Next, puts. Yeah, even the puts is just similar. Inside the curly brackets of puts, put the character string which you want to print. It will print the string in the console output. Even prints the new line before the printing the output. The puts function is very much similar to the printf function. There won't be any difference between the printf and puts, but printf is an formatted function. Puts is an unformatted. Remember the point. Puts is an unformatted output function. The puts function is used to print the string on the console which is previously read by single gets or scanf. The puts function returns an integer value representing the number of characters being printed on the console. Since the prints an additional new line character with the string which moves the cursor to the new line on the console, an integer variable written by the puts and always be equal to the number of characters present in the string plus one. Declaration, yeah, you can see on my screen, declaration of puts was put of char. You can even see on my you can see the code on my screen how to use the puts. Just put, like if you define character as name, if you take the input by using scanf or gets name, just print the puts name, and it will demonstrate the usage of puts function. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry for the delay. Yeah, now see this C string functions. As we go in every language, there will be built-in string functions which we should use, which they will be used. But this in C string functions was stored in the library string.h library. There are various string functions, but let me discuss the main string function. You can see on first was string length, next string copy, string cat, string comparison, string reverse, string lower, string upper. Like string length just returns the length of the string name. Like if you use your name, it will just return the number of characters and number of letters encountered in your name. Next string copy, like in C we can't copy one string to another string directly, right? We should use another for loop, iterate to the for loop and copying each and every character to another string. It will be a difficult process. Instead, you can use a standard library function of string copy to copy one string from another string. Next, string concatenation, like instead of for adding of two characters, like if you want to merge the two strings, instead of again using a for loop or iterating it over it, just use a string cat, where it's just concatenate the second string to the first. If you take s1 and s2, if you want to print it will print s1 s2. Yeah, it won't you can see that string dot copy and string dot cat won't return any value. Just they will they give return the value of which was previously stored. Now string dot comparison. This is also one of the very important. We want to compare two strings. If the two strings are equal, like it's string dot comparison is case sensitive. capital A is different from small a, capital B is different from small b. It's a case sensitive function. String dot comparison case sensitive function. We can't consider small letters and capitals and small. Even if there is difference in the like upper and lower cases in the string, it was treated as strings are different. We can use string dot comparison to check whether two strings are equal. If two strings are equal, it will just simply return 0. If the strings are doesn't equal, like if you first mismatch was occurred in the third position, it will just simply returns the ASCII value difference of the two characters. ASCII, yeah, ASCII make ASCII, yeah, you know the ASCII, I think so. It will just return the ASCII values. If the first string is greater than second string, it will return in the negative value. If the second string is greater than first string, it returns in positive value. Just it will return positive, negative, or 0. Next, string dot reverse. If you input a string, it just reverse. It will just reverse the string and returns the reverse string value. Next, string dot lower. If you feed the string input with an string sentence, it will convert all the upper characters into lower. Lower will be always in the lower, and it will return the string dot upper. It just works as an lower like before function, but it just change lower to the upper. That's the major difference. Yeah, now let us discuss the property of strings in the C. Yeah, these are still now we discuss many properties. Let us me briefly explain. I won't go through the depth. Let me briefly go through the properties. Some properties in the declaration of string, the size must be unsigned integer constant where the value is greater than 0 only. In initialization of string, specifying characters are not initialized. The remaining elements are automatically initialized with null character. In the initializing of string, it is not possible to initialize more than size of the string element. Yeah, we can't initialize with more than size of the element. This is one of the major point to remember. In the initialization of string, if we are assigning a numerical value, then according to the ASCII value, corresponding data will be stored. Like the whole C language is based on the ASCII value. ASCII American standards of standard information exchange. Some definition like every element in the keyboard has specific value starting from the 0 to 1. Yeah, even emojis has ASCII value 0 to I guess it's up to 120. Small letter starts at 65, capital letter starts at 97. I guess when number starts at 40, it uses ASCII based. In the initialization of string, specifying the size is optional. In this case, how much characters are initialized and how many variables are created. These are the properties of strings in C. There will be many properties. I kept the main important properties of strings. Even if you want, you can go through this slide, and this slide consists of properties. When we are working with the strings, always recommended to initialize the data in double quotes only. Yeah, we won't use any specifying single character in the string, like single character reference to the character. So always use double character to store a string. When we are working with a string constant, always it ends with a null character. That's why one extra byte. If you want to store 4 word character, initialize with 5. So last character will be occupied by a null character. When we are working with character operations, recommended going for the percentage format specifier. When we are working with string operation, recommended to going with percentage. Yeah, this is again a basic syntax. It is a confirm specify to use percentage while you are using the strings. When we are working with the percentage format specifier, then we are required to pass the address of the string from the given address to the null. Enter content will be printed on the console. I discussed this point while I am discussing percentage in the PPT. When the null character has occurred in the middle of the string, then we are not able to print complete data because of the null character indicates the termination of the string. If we include null character in the middle of the string, it won't make any sense that it will print still the middle and it won't go to the further string. It's not recommendable to use null character in between the string. Yeah, these are the properties which are related to strings. Yeah. Thank you everyone.